You want to start Amazon FBA, but you don't want to fail just like everyone else. I'm going to give you 3 of the most important pieces of information that I use to take my initial $500 investment and scale it to a $30,000 per month business. I'm going to break down what they are and how to achieve them, and how to set yourself apart from everyone else starting Amazon FBA so that you can guarantee yourself some success. Now, I know what it's like to start Amazon while having a 9-to-5 and giving it your all because of that. And along my journey, I came across these 3 things that really made the biggest differences when it comes to being successful with Amazon. My channel is full of how-tos and answers to questions that you might have specifically about details with Amazon. But these 3 things will set you up so that any questions that come across or any decisions that you have to make, as long as you put them into this frame, you'll always make a good decision. You'll always be on the right path. So the first thing is using credit to get funded and buy more inventory. When I first started, I started with $500, and while there's nothing wrong with starting with that amount of money, it really held me back from making the kind of money that I was expecting at the beginning. Now, I am very glad that I did it this way, and I would suggest anyone starting Amazon don't get funded first, because you don't want to make a mistake with a big bag and end up blowing a lot of money. What you want to do first is get the basics down, start with a little bit of money that you have saved up, and start scaling up from there. You'll learn a lot of invaluable lessons along the way, and this is where I see most of my students really start taking form and knowing whether or not this is a business they're going to pursue for the long haul. And it's the same pattern that I saw in myself. Once I started seeing these problems, you really start to form in your mind whether or not I'm going to be able to deal with this for a long time. For me, it wasn't a big deal. I've worked much harder jobs than looking for stuff online, so I knew I was going to be in it for the long haul. Once I scaled my $500 investment up a little bit, I knew it was possible to leave my job doing this, but I was still scared, and I was still pushing for that big money that I was expecting, because I got into this to make a lot of money. I didn't get into this to just replace my 9-to-5. I wanted a change. And that change came as soon as I got business funding. So when I first started Amazon, I had terrible credit. And the first thing my mentor told me is to start working on your credit. It doesn't matter where it's at, what you've done to it. The sooner you start working on your credit, the sooner you can get business funding. It's not an immediate process. It's not going to be next day unless you have an amazing credit profile already. But I didn't have good credit, and I had to understand that this was a long-term goal that I needed to chase, getting business funding for my business. So I started working on my credit ASAP, and I got to the point where my credit was in the very high 700s. And at that point, I decided to form an LLC. I decided to make my company official. Once I had the LLC, all I had to do was go to banks and let them know, hey, I have good credit and I have an LLC and I want to get business funding. What they'll do is something called a PG, a personal guarantee. This is where they look at your credit profile and determine if you're trustworthy based on your credit profile, your personal one, and then go ahead and give you X amount of money for business funding. Usually it comes in the form of credit cards. Mine came in the form of 2 Chase credit cards, both for $40,000, giving me a total of $80,000 in my back pocket to buy inventory with. Now, you must understand, this is not money to blow. Please do not go get business funding and be reckless with it. Business funding is exactly that. It's funding to start a business. And that's what I did. As soon as I got that funding, I really got serious with Amazon FBA. I left my job and I took the risk. I keep telling people over and over and over again, business funding plus Amazon FBA is like a cheat code to wealth, no matter what background you're coming from. There's different ways to build wealth when you have a lot of money, but when you don't have a lot of money, business funding is really the secret that you need to know about. So definitely start thinking about getting business funding if you haven't already started that process. Some things you need to have in order to get business funding is a 680 credit score or higher across all 3 bureaus, 1 credit card with at least 1.5K limit on it, and an average credit age of at least 1 year. On top of that, you'll need an LLC that has a good business name. Don't go for business names like construction or credit repair or any of these high-risk businesses, tattoo shops, restaurants, things that are very risky. You want to name your business something professional, like consulting services or enterprises or industries. Make yourself look fundable to the bank. You have to think like a bank. Also, get a professional business email meaning your name at whatever your business name is .com. Get a business phone, get a virtual business address, list yourself on white pages, on 411 listings, on Google listings. Get a website. Make yourself look as professional as possible before you go to these banks looking for them to fund you. Now, the second thing that will set you apart from everyone doing Amazon FBA is how good you are at sourcing. This is the number one thing that sets apart my successful students from my unsuccessful students. You have to make time to learn how to source. Also, when most people get started with Amazon, they worry about things like ungating or shipping templates or how do I do my taxes. None of this matters in the beginning, because if you can't source products, none of that even means anything. You can't make any money if you can't source products. So spend 90% of your time when you're first starting Amazon learning Seller Amp and Keepa inside and out. Start with a method called storefront stalking. This is exactly what I teach my students. It's basically using Seller Amp and Keepa to look inside of other third-party Amazon seller stores, see what they're selling already, see if you can find it profitable and selling it in your store. This is much easier than going to websites and scouring for profit or going into actual stores and trying to find profit there. This will give you an eye for what to look for out in the field, give you an upfront view on what your profits look like, whether a product is good to sell or not, and then after that you can worry about ungating and everything else after that. But worry about sourcing first, because that skill will make you so much more money than any other skill with Amazon. And also, people will pay you to learn how to source too. There's many ways to make money off of having the skill set of sourcing. Everyone that I know that does Amazon FBA is always looking for more leads, myself included. I pay people sometimes even for leads. If you can be exclusive and good at finding leads for Amazon, you can make money on your store and you can charge other people for leads. So don't overlook the skill of sourcing. It is the most boring part of Amazon and it is the most time intensive. But I guarantee you, if you learn how to source, you will see a drastic difference between you and these beginners out here that just want to sell one product or two products and think that they're going to become a millionaire. Now, the third thing that really makes a huge difference in the success of your Amazon store is something that's not so tangible, like business funding or sourcing skills. This point is more about shifting your goals. And the reason I say this is because you want to set yourself apart from everyone else and be successful. You have to switch your goals from what everyone else's goals are. For the most part, when people join my mentorship or get into Amazon FBA or just asking questions in general, one of their first questions is, how quickly can I make it to 10K a month? How quickly can I be profitable? How much money can I make in my first month? All these questions about these big goals, and while I do understand that, I'm a big fan of thinking big and aiming high. At the same time though, you have to give your brain achievable steps so that you don't burn out and give up. What happens to most Amazon sellers who start? They give up. Why? It's not because they're undetermined and it's not because they're lazy. Most of these people start very excited and very driven to make something happen. But what happens is along the way, there are no goals being met and there's no signs that success is on the way, so they give up. And that's because if your goal is to make 10K per month, everything under 10K per month, not that cool. So for example, a way you can shift your goals away from making 10K a month is, instead of how can I make $10,000 a month, shift your goal to how can I get 50 products into my store that sell well? Because I guarantee you, if you source and you find 50 products and get them into your store, you will be making good money. You will be able to leave your job. But everyone focuses on the wrong thing. When all you're focused on is making $10,000 per month, you get really in your head and really focused on the wrong thing. So focus on goals that can be achieved on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis so that you keep getting those hits of dopamine and you keep setting yourself up for success and stay away from being burnt out or feeling like you're not really accomplishing anything. Because if your goal is getting 50 products into your store, your first product feels amazing that you get into your store. Your second product, you're that much closer. Third, fourth, fifth, 10, 20, 30, it all adds up, and your brain is hitting these little goals, these milestones along the way. You're getting all this positive feedback, and it only snowballs into itself. And the same thing goes with sourcing. When I teach people how to source, so many people sit down and they say, all right, I'm gonna source tonight, I'm gonna find 5 good products. Instead of sitting down and finding 10 products that are good, that's such a lofty goal for a beginner sourcer. Instead, have a goal that sounds more like, I'm gonna analyze data on 1,000 items. Because I guarantee you, if you sit down and analyze 1,000 items, you're gonna find 10 good ones at least. So that's how I look at it whenever I source. I sit down and I say, okay, my goal is to look through 10 storefronts or 100 items. Whatever the case may be, I give myself a goal that is achievable and I can hit no matter what. I can put in the time, and my brain can have that food for itself so that it doesn't get burnt out and that it doesn't go towards the route of giving up. So these are some of the tactics that I've used to be successful. When I first started, I was working a 9-to-5 job, living at my parents' house, like literally paycheck to paycheck. I know a lot of you guys are struggling, and believe me, I've been there. This is doable. This is 100% doable. I don't come from a wealthy family. I don't have anything special over any of you watching this video. So if I can do it, just let it be an inspiration to you, and just let it be confirmation knowing that you can do it. Anyone can learn how to source. Anyone can pick up a computer, open an Amazon seller account. Anyone can do it. So learn how to set yourself apart. These things have helped me set myself apart from my competitors, and it's the same sauce, some of the same sauce that I give to the students in my mentorship, helping them to stand out from everyone starting this business. You know, it's very popular to start right now. So set yourself apart in 2025 using these methods. And if you're looking for mentorship, don't hesitate to reach out to me on Instagram or on TikTok. Want to be on the winning team? You want inside info for Amazon FBA? You want leads given to you to start your store? And you want help starting and scaling your store and getting business funding? I have all those contacts. I've got the whole blueprint. I've got everything set up for you guys to win. So connect with me whenever you need to. Thanks for watching, and as always, sell things online, make lots of money.